Block Ram 313 back at you again because you know this is therapeutic, man. I'm here with some therapy. Another therapy session, and I mean this one, as I always do. Title of this video is She Will Always Leave You. Realize that this is not some of the game. It's not part of the game or even pieces of the game. It is the whole game when it comes to dating and relationships. Not part of the game, not pieces, not fractions, but it is the game. Cop and blow, you never know when she is gonna go. This is what the PIs, the players, say. And this is so true. You never know when she's gonna go. Therefore, to keep your flow, you must cop and blow, catch and release. This statement that she will always leave you is the truth. It is the reality. Again, when it comes to relationships. In fact, nothing in relationships is more true than this fact. She will always leave you. Now, I have a saying. My saying is that dogs bark, babies cry, and women leave. It's just what they do. The most fundamental principle of a relationship is that it will end at some point, mainly because of her leaving. Even if it's in death, all relationships are temporary. It has a lifespan just like the human body. The relationship will die off. Again, mainly due to her own departure. It's in her nature to leave you. It's in her nature to leave your side and seek someone and something else. Now, isn't that what Eve did to Adam? She chose the serpent over him. She wanted liberation instead of submission to authority. She wanted something different, something more appealing to the eyes. We can see hypergamy right in the Garden of Eden. The serpent came with a better offer. So she thought. The grass wasn't actually greener on the other side. Yet still she chose something different than what she had right in front of her. She left. Only a fool thinks that his woman won't leave him. Only a fool thinks that his woman won't cheat on him. I've seen it many times. Any man who thinks that his woman won't leave is blinded by stupidity and sheer arrogance. This is what we know. If you happen to be a man that's challenged in his height, if you're short, or if you're not attractive, if you're hard to look at, if you are painful on the eyes, And if you're broke, a woman will leave you. But if you're tall and you're rich and you're handsome and maybe you have a big pee-pee, she will still leave you. Many basketball players know this all too well, for they are great examples of everything a woman could ever want. He has the height. He has the money. He has the social status, yet and still, the players are divorced constantly. Even a mild-mannered, good guy like Tim Duncan, his wife left him too. She will always leave you. You can be a thug, you can be classy, you can be rich, you can be poor. It doesn't matter. She will always leave you. Now, I work for a rather large agency. I work with a large amount of people. And I see relationships all the time ending, breakups, divorce. Many of those divorces and breakups coming after 10, 15, 20, 25, and even 30 years of marriage or even being in the relationship. But she still leaves. So now length of time seems not to matter at all. Time with her through trials and tribulations, ups and downs, getting to know her, sleeping beside her night by night, holding her, consoling her, being there when tragedy happens, through the good times, through the bad times. It does not matter to her. Her loyalty is still not there. For there is nothing that you can do, nothing that is humanly possible to keep any woman in your presence. Most women leave the majority. Think about that. You don't believe me? Why isn't it hardly any woman with the first man that she's been with? Why? And not just that. We see it over and over again. Length of time, again, is no assurance or sign of stability, fidelity, or even her love. This is cold and brutal. It's cold as a Siberian winter, and you're out there without as much of a sweater or a coat. She is ice cold because she will leave you. And contrary to popular belief, most of the time it is not because of so-called infidelity on the man's part. I had a coworker once, female coworker. And she would often tell others, and me being in earshot, about how hardworking her husband is and was, how dedicated to the family he is and was. And as many of us know, Latino men pride themselves on being dedicated to their families and working extremely hard to provide and to protect them. In fact, this woman used to brag about how her husband never misses a day of work. In fact, I believe it was over 10 years. Now, many of my coworkers, I've worked with them for 10 years plus. I have close to 15 years on the job to speak of. So you get to see people in different areas of their lives and transitions, the ups and downs of their lives. They get to see mine as well. So this particular woman, her husband, was severely injured on his job, permanently disabled. And for about a year, she took care of him. And I recount the story of her telling someone, me being present, of how tired she is and how painful it is for her to take care of him. And how much of a burden this man has become. And that his parents, being up in age, can't provide the help that she'd like. She even talked about how much of a burden it is to take him, along with her 2 daughters, simply to a park, having to assist him in his walking. And as she talked about this, I could see the disgust and disdain for her husband in her face. Now, this man who sacrificed, who was so-called faithful to you, this man who worked hard to provide when he could no longer do that, you spoke of him as being a burden. Now, she went on to divorce him and leave it up to his parents to take care of him. And she even mentioned at a time that her daughters grew weary of their father and his disability. Now, how is that for love and loyalty? This man who worked hard for his family could not even have a supporting wife. A wife, by the way, who was able to support him financially and physically, chose not to do so because she has to live her life now. Because in her psyche, for better, for worse, for rich and poor, for sickness and health, does not apply to her responsibility. For she is not obligated to do so. For sickness and in health, for rich, poor, better, or worse, only applies to herself and to her benefit. Now, how cold and heartless is that? And you think in your mind that that can't happen to you, huh? This is female nature. Again, dogs bark, babies cry, and women leave. It's just what they do. It's a guarantee. You can bet your bottom dollar that she will leave. And for some men, I empathize, because that has to be more than painful. To put all that you have, your love, your care, your trust, your hard work, your sweat, your tears, your blood, and sacrifice that for your family. All to have her loyalty change. Her thoughts change. Her position change. What she wants changes. And she will leave you stranded. See, a woman can smile in your face. She can cook a good meal. A good time in the bed. And she can be there bodily. But she can leave you, although she's physically present. And she could have left years ago in her mind. And sometimes, and in times past, I've even heard women brag about this to their friends, how they have no more respect, love, care, and concern for their own husbands. And I've ran into women. It could be your woman too. I've ran into women who actually hate their husbands for whatever reason. This is what you're laying next to. See, her feelings can turn permanently in an instance, speedily, like the flip of a switch, presto. Now, how can you be comfortable with such a creature by your side? How can you take it easy? How can you enjoy knowing that her feelings will change and that she will leave you? This is why you should never, ever be dependent upon a woman financially or even emotionally, especially in this day and age. You can find no rest, no comfort in a woman. Man, I wish this wasn't true, though. I wish that a man could feel free. I wish that we could feel free to express our fervent love and care toward our wives, our women, our girlfriends. I wish that we were free to love her, to confide in her, to take care of her, to make her smile, to trust her, to make her one with us. But in today's world, this is foolish and one-sided because she cannot return the favor to you. No loyalty, no morality. She will always leave you. She becomes bored with you. The love that you think can last a lifetime is temporal, dependent on outside circumstances that may not have anything to do with you. Feelings change. Emotions unstable. The thrill is gone. She's tired. She wants something new. A new life. A new love. And again, just because she's next to you physically does not mean she has not left. And oftentimes, as men, we are the last to know, but there are signs. We were often the last to know when she's left. For she leaves first in her mind, then her heart, and then the body follows. And it's not all your fault that you don't know this. She's the best at keeping secrets. Perfect at keeping secrets. She's a damn good actor, isn't she? She can fake anything, not just orgasms. This could be you. This could be me. See, her nature is one of disloyalty. She runs from hardships. She knows not how to sacrifice. She knows not how to endure. She's never heard of a word called long suffering. Although you'd give your life for her to protect her, not only do you give your time, energy, and sweat on a job for her, not only do you give your attention, the roses, the flowers, the candies, the conversation. In fact, you give her everything, but she cannot do the same for you. No honor, completely self-serving. She doesn't love a man, men, nor can she love any man. So why would she stay with you? And of course, it's always your fault. But why would she stay with you? And if she cheats on you, it's your fault because you didn't give her enough attention. You didn't give her enough time. And if you give it a lot of time and attention, then you're not giving her enough money. Either way, you lose. A woman is only with you for two reasons anyway. Either it's your resources or emotions, both in which are subject to change suddenly and without warning, like the wind, like the weather. Again, at an instance. This is what your relationship is founded on. This is the foundation of every relationship between male and female. Now, how weak is this foundation? Isn't it made of straw instead of concrete? Again, no honor, no loyalty. In fact, her only loyalty is to her own feelings. For it is her feelings that matter more than life itself. She has no God. She has no husband. She worships herself and her own feelings. And wherever her feelings dictate, wherever her feelings go, she must follow them. And there is nothing, I mean nothing you can do. There's no amount of game. There's no amount of height, looks, or riches that will keep her there. I don't care what love guru, PUA you listen to. This is a fact. So much of a fact. In fact, she must leave you. She has to. Because she is so curious, man, about what else, who else may be out there. Another prize. Every day is a woman's birthday. A new box to open. A new relationship. In fact, the world pats her on her back and says she's strong once she leaves you for any reason. Even if it's 100% her fault, she will always make it yours. She's waiting for the next guy to utilize him to see what type of satisfaction he can bring. Why be satisfied with one box of candy when you can have many of them? You don't believe me, do you? She basked in options galore. Don't believe me? She's waiting to make a different choice. She's waiting on a reason to leave you. You don't believe me? Check out her social media pages and look at all the simps offering her everything that she could ever dream of. The simps falling at her feet, willing to worship her, telling her that you can't worship her enough. Saying things to her like, if I was your man, you wouldn't have to drive a Chevy. I'll put you in a BMW. If I were your man, you'd have a bigger ring. If I were your man, you would get your hair done every week. You think she doesn't hear that? This society of simps, this culture of simps, makes it easy for her to stray away. Again, a birthday buffet with simps offering various sacrifices and oblations to her, willing to worship at her feet. And she's sick and tired of your brand of service. So remember now, it is a girl's world. It is her day, her time to shine. She has all the rights, all the privileges, all the sex partners that she could ever have right at her fingertips. right on Facebook, right on Instagram. And there's nothing you can do. Cry if you must. Beg if you must. But she has to go. As Eve had to disobey the Most High. As Eve had to eat of the fruit of the tree. She had to see what else was out there. Your woman must see what else the world has in store for her. Yeah, that's not what you want. And this is not about being tough, man. This is painful. Many of us as men, we put our all into our relationships. Nobody said that the red pill was an easy pill to swallow. No one said that. In fact, it's the toughest pill one can swallow and acknowledge. And one fact of that, again, is that she will always leave you. Here is a small article. It's called The Divorce Lawyer. The Divorce Lawyer Source. It's the name of the website. And an interesting little article here that I just want to read to you to illustrate, to show statistically that she will always leave you. So the article starts, and I quote, "Who initiates the divorce more often, the wife or the husband? Question mark. One might think that 50% of the time a divorce action is filed by the husband, and the other 50% of the time it is the wife who begins the proceedings. Or that maybe there's a small percentage to subtract for the divorces that are somehow filed jointly by spouses who agree that they should part. It also seems plausible that since the wife's standard of living often declines after divorce, women would be less likely to file a divorce action. Conversely, because men more often engage in adultery, so-called, my emphasis, again, quote, it may seem that wives would be more likely to seek a divorce based on their husband's conduct. The reporting of divorce statistics isn't as complete as, say, the census data, collected in the U.S. every 10 years. However, several sources have arrived at pretty much the same answer to the question, who initiates a divorce more often, men or women? 2/3 of the time, it is the wife who files for divorce in about 2/3 of divorce cases, at least among couples who have children, according to the National Center of Health Statistics. The proportion has changed slightly over the years. For example, in 1975, approximately 72% of divorces in the U.S. were filed by women, whereas in 1988, only 65% were filed by women. The same throughout the 19th century. A study reported in the American Law and Economics Review in 2000, titled, "These Boots Are Made for Walking, Why Most Divorce Filers Are Women," also showed that more recently, women file more than 2/3 of divorce cases in the U.S., even though the individual states' data vary somewhat, and the numbers have fluctuated over time. Throughout most of the 19th century, about 60% of divorce filings were by women. Moreover, in some states where no-fault divorce was introduced, Over 70% of divorce filings were by women. Among college-educated couples, the percentage of divorces initiated by wives is a whopping 90%. Again, she will always leave you. That's the end of the article. Now we see that this is not something that can really be argued. It's a proven fact. And what about all the people you know, all the men you know, in which their woman has left them? In fact, if a woman was to be honest, if you would ask her over her lifetime, now, if you have to be skillful in asking this, because as you know, as I've stated in many videos, when questioning a woman, you have to come from an area in which it's not judgmental. You have to kind of coax her into it. And if a woman would be honest, if you could talk her into being honest, which is extremely hard to do, if you were to ask a woman over her lifetime, whether she's married, divorced, in a relationship, or never been married, no matter what her relational situation may be with the opposite sex, if we were to ask her the question, and if she was to be honest, she would confess and confer and validate this one point, that in majority of her relationships, most of the time, or really pretty much all of the time, it indeed was she who decided that the relationship must come to an end. It was her. She will always leave you. And if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committeth adultery. Gospel of Mark, chapter 10, verse 12. What this means, according to the biblical standard, which most profess to be Christians, followers of the Messiah, these are his words. According to this definition of adultery by the Messiah himself, which most females proclaim to believe, that this will lead to the fact that the majority of women are adulteresses and continually living in adultery. That's all I have to say about that. So yeah, she loves to change up partners. She likes to switch it up like an underwear change. Again, she loves to change up partners, looking for that new emotional high with a new man, with new sexual experiences, just like a junkie looking for that first high. She's bored with you and she needs someone else. So I say to you, be prepared for her departure. Be prepared for her departure. So remember these 5 things as I bring this video to a close. Remember, gentlemen, red pillars, Ibmore, Megto. Remember, number 1, that you are the prize and not her. You are a man. Society wouldn't exist without your hands and your mind. So your goal is to be consistent with who you are. Always don't change. Let her change, but not you. Let her compromise, but not you. Allow her disloyalty to flourish, but not you. Let her leave you. Just continue to be you. Point number 1. Point number 2, she was created solely and exclusively for you, according to the scriptures. She was created for you, not the other way around. You were not created for her. She was created for you. You were not created to serve her. She was created to serve you. And one day I'll do a video about that, most high willing. Number 3, in preparing for her departure, I want you to remember to always stand your ground. Stand upon your principles. This is what separates men from women, red pillars from blue pillars, it more from others. Your principles comes before a woman. Who you are comes before a woman. Your identity comes before a woman. Your self-worth, your value comes before a woman. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Me personally, I do not allow a woman to question me about my whereabouts and such. Women do fidelity checks. This is improper. It is I that conducts the checking. I do not get checked. And if she wants to leave because of this, again, I am the one doing the checking. I don't get checked. You don't ask me about my whereabouts. I ask you about yours. You don't check up on my fidelity. I check up on yours. And if she wants to leave because of this attitude of mine, because of this principle of mine, if she wants to leave because of this, then let her go. Number 4, what we must remember as we prepare for her departure is that your life is not designed to meet her ever increasing demands for happiness at your expense. Her wants, desires, and expectations always changes. Do not allow this to affect you. Number 5 and final. When she leaves, rejoice. Help her pack her bags. I believe that was a quote from Iceberg Slim's book. Life can be extremely fulfilling without her. Women are mainly burdens anyway. They bring no real value unless she breaks bread with you and serves you and is submitted to you. Other than that, she has no value to you. And the vast majority of women know nothing about serving. Know nothing about honoring the man in their life. They only know how to take and receive and be ungrateful. So when she leaves, although it may hurt, in the time to come, it could be a very positive thing. What does she have to offer anyway? And as time passes, you'll get through it, you'll get better. But she will always leave you. And I'm about to leave you with this song. Remember Whitney Houston's song, I Will Always Love You? I'm going to leave you too with this song. And she will always leave you. Always leave you. She'll always leave you. Black Ram, Ibmore, out.